Welcome back to Tech Tips. Homework. You remember it from school. It's equally as important for the development of your marksmanship skills. In this segment, Olympian and U.S. Army Reserve team member Sergeant First Class Keith Sanderson discusses homework, specifically dry practice.
The last part I can't help you out with. You have to figure that out on your own. This first week, both rifle and pistol, we've worked on technique. Not so much training. We call it training camp, but we're learning what you're supposed to be doing, what positions you're going to use, how to do things a certain way. Now, I'm going to give you your homework assignment for this next month, which is for the training part of it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, we talked about dry fire before, the importance of dry fire. I'm going to give you 2 drills that you're going to do, other than actually shooting and dry firing on corners and stuff like that, working on your different positions. There are these 2 drills which are probably the most important things you're ever going to do with a pistol. And Sean will probably tell you the same thing with a rifle. One is dry fire, just plain dry fire. Prefer dry firing on a blank wall. You don't have to be 3 inches away from the wall. In fact, I would prefer you not being very close to the wall at all. Why would you not want to be very close to the wall? Why would you want to even be aiming at a wall to begin with, instead of a small target? Can anyone tell me?
So you have to focus on your sight.
You want to be disciplined to focus on your sights. If the wall is right in front of your pistol, you can be looking at the wall and your sights will still be clear, right? If you're looking at the wall, if you're looking at the target, so your sights going to be clear? If they aren't clear, can you align them? No. So you're going to be focusing on your sights when you're dry firing. When you're dry firing, one of the things is, there's 2 ways to dry fire. One with your eyes open, one with your eyes closed. By far, I'd say the most important way, the way you build trigger control, is dry firing with your eyes closed. What are you focusing on when you dry fire with your eyes closed? Can anyone tell me?
Trigger movement.
Make sure that your trigger is uninterrupted. That once the pressure builds, it builds at the same rate till the hammer falls. Do it double action, do it single action. Probably more times single action than double action, just because the vast majority of shots are in fact single action. The second thing that's the first part. That's your first goal. Your first mission statement when you dry firing with your eyes closed. Make sure your trigger control is uninterrupted at a certain pace. Don't just do it slow all the time. You want to get it where it's about the 4-second pace every now and then too. The second thing, the second mission statement, your goal when you're dry firing is to make sure your cell phones are working. Is that right? Is that a goal?
I'm making notes on what you're saying right now.
Okay.
I'm not texting you.
No, I'm just fucking you.
No, you're not. You care.
What talking about?
Cell phones.
Yeah. All right. Your second mission statement when you dry fire with your eyes closed is to make sure that your grip is consistent. Your grip is independent of your trigger finger is independent of the sights. Your grip is independent of the trigger finger. Can someone tell me why that's important? Why is your grip independent of the trigger finger?
Because you don't want trigger movements shouldn't move.
What does your grip control?
Sight alignment.
It controls sight alignment, right? So if your grip fluctuates as your trigger finger is moving, what is your sight alignment doing? It's fluctuating. So what's your grip going to do downrange?
Open up.
It's going to get really, really big. So you can feel it. You want to get to the point from dry firing the eyes closed enough where you can feel your pinky finger loosen up a little bit as your trigger finger is moving, or tighten up a little bit. You need to make sure that all your fingers are absolutely consistent with your eyes closed, almost kumbaya, like click, click, over and over and over again. That's the vast majority of what you're going to do when you dry fire. When you dry fire your eyes open on a blank wall, you're focusing more on sight alignment. You're still working on that, but you're trying to make sure your sights stay aligned and there's no fluctuation. I used to think that when the hammer fell, the vibration caused my front sight post to move. It's not. It was my grip is what caused that to happen, because I had other things I was doing wrong. But you do it over and over again until it doesn't happen. Okay? Those 2 things will help all of you out enormously for the precision stages. For all the stages of fire. Now, how many here got tired? Their hands got uneven. Their hands, my hands are tired. I haven't been training. All right. So now I'm going to give you the drills that you can do to build your grip and your position. The physical parts of shooting, the 2 physical fundamentals, which is called holding drills. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to do 1 minute on, 2 minutes off, 8 times a day for 6 days in a row. At the 7th day, you'll be able to grip it as hard as you can and you won't shake. I would suggest you either do it in front of a buddy or do it in front of a mirror to make sure that you are absolutely consistent. One more thing on dry firing, this goes with holding drills too. You have to be intensely critical of yourself when you're dry firing. Accept nothing but perfection. You'll see me like cussing myself out and stuff. I can't just do it. Just do it this way. Just do it this way. You have to be absolutely critical of yourself when you're dry firing. When you put bullets in the gun, you're not critical anymore. You're just trying to do it as best you can. And it's a hard distinction. Now for holding drills, clear. Everyone see this is a clear weapon? All right, for instructional purposes, since you guys are on that side, that's going to be the downrange area. For holding drills, what I want you to do is build your position the way that I showed you, all right? So you have your good boxer stance. In other words, your feet are in the corner of a box, good combat warrior stance. Keep your chest plate and your shoulders square with the target, which in this case is that berm. For you at home, going to be a wall or something like that. All right, set your little stopwatch for, say, a minute and 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, that way it gives you time to get up into position and build it right. And then the minute starts. All right, so it's going to be click. And you can dry fire the first shot if you want to. You like this? And now, your follow through, instead of just being a couple seconds, is going to be exaggerated for that entire minute. What I'm going to do is, I'm going back, I'm saying sights are aligned, aligned, aligned. Going back, grips harder, harder, harder. Every single finger. Not my trigger finger. Now my trigger finger has pressure on the trigger, but it's not gripping 100%. But the rest of your fingers are at 100%. Pinky finger included, both hands. Harder, harder. You might start noticing that your left hand is slipping off of the pistol. Okay, that's not something that rosin's going to fix. That's just because it's not used to it yet. It will be after this week of training. All right? Then you go back. Make sure that you're trying to break the wishbone. So it's like this, because your elbows are up. So your elbows are up, okay? Make sure that this elbow is straighter than what your right elbow is. If you're right-handed and shoot with your right eye. For you, it's going to be opposite, okay? All right? You're going to make sure that your elbows are in the same spot. Your goal at that point is to make sure that every joint in your body stays at the same angle. That you're absolutely consistent through that entire minute. Another thing you can do is, when you're like this, you can go like this. Now when I'm moving left and right, what am I looking for?
Keep the sights right.
I'm looking for sight alignment, making sure that I pivot in this, I aim with my chest. Now what stage of fire is that particularly going to help us out with? That 7-6-5-4 drill, right? When you go to the next target and your sights are already aligned, it makes it a lot easier, right? That's your goal, to make it as easy as you can to shoot as close to perfect as possible. So you'd be like this for that whole minute, and then to get your sights perfectly aligned, the best lines you can. You should be shaking at this point. Close your eyes. So the last thing you saw was perfectly aligned sights, and then relax. Then take the pistol out of your hand, shake it out, get the blood back in your hand, set it for 2 minutes. Wait 2 minutes. The first couple times, I can go in a minute. By around 6 or 7, you should be, or in other words, 6 or 7 holding drills at 1 minute on, 2 minutes off, you should be sweating profusely. It should be very hard and painful. It's not fun. It sucks, I'll be honest with you. But what it does is, while you're doing it, because it's combat, everything up here is tight. You're going back. Your pecs are tight. Your abs are tight. Everything. You're imagining that pistol is going to go full auto at any second, and you're trying to hold it inside the 5 ring when it's on full auto at any second. You're also imagining there's a tornado going on trying to blow you around. Your whole body is as stiff as you can possibly make it for that 1 minute. That is your world. You just go through sight alignment, grip, 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 elbows, forearms, chest, shoulders, back, abs, legs, thighs, all the way down to your feet. Have your toes where your toes are trying to grab into the deck like this. Everything. They didn't go back through. You're spending the majority of your time from your elbows forward as far as what you're focusing on. Trying to make sure it stays perfect. If you do this, I say again, 1 minute on, 2 minutes off, times 8. If you do this, by the end of the 6th day, you'll be able to grip it as hard as you can and you won't shake at all. Now, how many here think that might be an advantage in the 4-second stage, if they can grip it as hard as they can with both hands and there's no shaking at all? Think that might make it a little bit easier to shoot really high scores? That's the key to it. You can do it, doing it, make it harder for yourself. This makes it a lot easier. The other things you can do is, I get these grippers. These are, 1.5, so you can pass them around. I mean, they aren't, I have some 2s that I used to use at AFSAM. What you'll find is, by doing these holding drills, will give you all the grip strength that you need. You don't need to get fancy grippers like what I did. You don't need them. They don't really help out. But what you'll find is, your grip strength will get phenomenally stronger, both left and right-handed, just from doing these holding drills. And it's usable strength that'll help you out directly in the match. at the end of the day when we shoot pistol, when you're tired. All right, does anyone have any questions on your 2 homework assignments? Okay, what are your 2 homework assignments?
Dry fire.
Dry fire, that's an A and B type. Dry fire, the eyes open and eyes closed, right?
Right.
And what's the next one? Holding drills. How many holding drills are you going to do?
8 a day.
What's the intervals?
1 on, 2 off.
1 minute on, 2 minutes off. Times about 8. All right, do that for 5-6 days straight, and then a couple days. You remember the ones I used to have at Fort Dix, right?
Yeah.
The 2s. I used to have the 2s, which when I was done with AFSTM, I could clink them with either hand. I used to pass them around in classes. Anybody who closes these with one hand gets a free pass in this class. Nobody closed them.
I can
whole
hardly
time I was
move
at
the
Fort
suckers.
Dix.
It's Iron Mind
Yeah.
things where you got those. Yeah.
There's other ones too, like for instance, for international shooting, I noticed that my pinky finger wasn't pulling its load, so I'd get these, where you just use your bottom 2 fingers, because it's equally important. Every single finger. All right. The last thing I'm going to say is, do this stuff without equipment, but then do it with your equipment on, so that way you know your equipment is adjusted right. You'll start noticing once you get tired in holding drills that you'll notice your equipment is pushing on certain areas that you might not notice when it's fresh. So that's why you want to check it out with your equipment on too. Another thing is I highly recommend Sight Black and that rosin powder. Everyone got some rosin powder here they passed out, right?
No.
If not, I'll give you one of the bottles I have in the room tonight. All right, so those are your 2 homework assignments.
That sounds good.
What, homework assignments?
No.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you a 3rd homework assignment too. Here's your 3rd homework assignment. I want everyone to take a 3x5 index card and draw a picture of sight alignment on it, as detailed and clear as they can of what M9 sight alignment looks like. And before you shoot every day, I want you to look at it. Sounds gay, but when I was in the Marine Corps, I used to do that. Like I'd draw it during rifle classes. to be honest, absolutely honest. And I'd get this 3x5 index card as absolutely clearly drawn as possible. I have a whole bunch of them, but it gets you really thinking about it.